Hello, one and all, everyone. It's us on a Sunday. We wanted to get as many CityWavesCinema episodes recorded as we can, so we're finishing this tie. And then the next video you watch will be the first video we watch in the new year. So, yeah, we're just waiting for this one. This person. He's missing. He's having a really bad time right now, but I almost choked on my tea. James is texting me that he's having a bad time because of jalapenos. So we'll wait. The jalapenos in all caps. With correct punctuation, though. Got the little whoosh over the N. It's just me. And my thoughts. Let's see here. Let's see what we can talk about while we wait. What news is there in the world? News. I'm already bored of this whole Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift nonsense. If anyone's keeping track. It just came out that Matthew Perry's death was because of an overdose, which sucks. What else? What else? Demi Lovato got engaged, if anyone cares. Dick Van Dyke is 98. And still alive. Maybe he'll beat Betty White. Let's see what else. What else? That's about it. That's about all I know. And by what I know, I mean what the internet could tell me. Oh, don't drink Simply Orange juice. That's the other big one. Poppy Playtime isn't coming out till January. Which means I have a little bit longer to not suffer. We will be playing it. It'll just take time. Do I want the lights brighter? Ooh, I do not. I do not want them brighter. I want them darker. I'm really bad at stalling. Markiplier won't put out his damn Five Nights at Freddy's playthrough, and it's pissing me off. Not that he'll ever see or watch this or remotely care what one little person has to say, but I generally always try to watch his playthrough first because he's my favorite. and I like him so much. But he has taken so long that I watched MatPat's playthrough first. And I'm about to watch Daco's, which I've never seen a Daco video, so that's saying something. I just want Mark to put out his FNAF video. That's all I want. It'd make me so happy. It'd make me the happiest, in fact. But I'm waiting. Not patiently. I check like every freaking day. Nothing. Not a thing. I'll never see that video. It's fine. I mean, I know he's going to play it, but at this point it's been like out for like 4 days, 3 days, 3 days, 4 days, 4 days, and no video. And I don't know why. At least tell me why. Is it because you're waiting on the tech? Because I know it takes new tech. Is it because your office isn't set up as a stream, like as a proper way to like record VR? That's fine. Just tell me. I know that you're a busy man, Mr. Markiplier, if you hear this or see this, but it's FNAF. I don't bother you for anything else. I enjoy all your other content, but I'll only bother you about FNAF. Hello, it's Green Gorilla. Now I don't have to stall in by myself. You missed my news report and me complaining about Five Nights at Freddy's. And me announcing that Poppy Playtime won't be until January. And we're just waiting on James, and I suck at stalling. So, we're just waiting. And I'm drinking tea. Out of my Home Alone mug. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Okay. James! Hurry your ass up, Green Gorilla says! Green Gorilla says hurry your ass up. There, I did it. I did what I was supposed to. He says that I need to get you to move your giant peach. I can go like this. I can do that finger thing. Took me forever in my life to learn. Ah. Didn't take me that long, but I did think it was witchcraft for a little bit. I'm really bad at stalling. For someone who's so good at improv, I'm really bad at stalling. Did you all know that Aaron Burr's daughter, Theodosia, disappeared? No one knows what happened to her. You know Christmas is like next week, right? Aaron Burr, famous founding father, killed Alexander Hamilton. Was vice president at one point. There, grumpy pants. Aaron Burr, not Amber. Aaron. Burr.
I regret.
You could have had the pepperoni.
Jesus Christ.
You ready? You want to take a minute?
I tried I got yelled at.
We were just joking with you.
All right.
You can take a minute. I'm educating Green Gorilla on American history. Because he doesn't know who Aaron Burr is.
It's okay. Aaron Burr's not super relevant.
You do you, my guy.
Okay.
Better.
No.
Okay.
I really don't like Tim Burton.
You like Sweeney Todd.
It's because I like Johnny Depp.
And Sleepy Hollow.
It's because I like Johnny Depp. Is he in this movie? Did I miss it? Did I not pay attention?
I don't think Johnny Depp was in this movie.
No, he was not in this movie. I know because I read over the cast.
I think this was before the Johnny Depp Tim Burton. No, because he was in Edward Scissorhands.
No.
Yeah, I said something that was completely false.
You are a silly Billy.
Well, I'm America.
Hello.
That's James.
Hello.
And we just got done watching James and the Giant Peach. Me, not for the first time. James for the first time.
The very first time.
And it was great.
That's one word for it.
It was a fantastic movie. I have trauma from this childhood movie. That rhinoceros cloud has lived in my brain in, like, forever. I have very distinct, like, memories of nightmares about that fucking rhinoceros cloud.
All right, here's the thing about the movie. It isn't a bad movie. But it's uninspiring.
Oh, the movie that's about, like, an inspirational story of a young child is not inspiring?
I mean, it's just... It's not interesting. Some stuff happens, characters exist, but none of them are compelling or... I mean, and here's the problem, too, is I'm watching this movie as an incredibly jaded adult. So, suspending my disbelief is next to impossible already. And they don't bother to try and explain away any of the questions that occur throughout the movie. And the only explanation given for anything is, this weird old dude showed up and he gave James a little sack of magic crocodile tongues that are really just electric green squiggles that are animated on top of the rest of the movie. First of all, Tim Burton is downright obsessed with bugs and his very best friend, Henry Selick.
Yes.
Who, if we're keeping track here, also directed Nightmare Before Christmas, which is the other acceptable Tim Burton movie.
It's also a Tim Burton movie that Tim Burton did not direct, but everyone gives credit for directing.
Well, he did produce it.
Just like this one.
Yeah. So you start the movie and it's confusing because at first there's a real boy, and that's not normal for Tim Burton or Henry Selick and all their many stop motion adventures.
I mean, Tim Burton has done live action movies, James.
No, that's not real.
Sweeney Todd, Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow,
I don't.
Beetlejuice.
Tim Burton does one thing, and that is sniff bugs and kiss Henry Selick on the mouth.
Batman.
Oof.
Tim Burton directed a Batman.
So the whole premise of the movie is that there's this young English lad named James, and his parents are killed by a storm rhinoceros.
Yes. There will be no explanation given about the rhinoceros in the clouds.
So already, awful. I mean, what is that? And that is not something I will attribute to Tim Burton or to Henry Selick.
No.
That's not a them thing.
That was a Roald Dahl.
That's Roald Dahl. And if you were to try and find something as insanely contrived as that in something that is actually done, like, conceptually by Tim Burton or Henry Selick, you wouldn't, because they're better than that. Roald Dahl is a psychopath, and frankly, I have not been a huge fan of his work.
Willy Wonka?
Nah.
Matilda?
Nah.
The BFG?
Haven't seen it.
Read it?
Nope.
Have you actually read any of Roald Dahl?
I read Wonka.
So you read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Did you read the sequel?
Which one's that?
Charlie and the Glass Elevator.
No, because I didn't care for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
If you ever want a mind trip and you like Roald Dahl, or you don't, either way, go read The Glass Elevator, because it's a... it gets weirder, somehow. They're in space at one point.
That's wild.
I'm pretty sure. It's been years.
So, I'm almost certain that rhinoceroses do not eat people.
Rhinoceri?
It's well, if we're gonna harken back to I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, they do refer to multiple rhinoceroses as rhinoceroses.
They also refer to hippopotamuses as hippopotamuses, though.
And they also refer to hippopotamuses as hippopotamuses.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can be using that as our field guide for plural
I'm going to anyway. So,
animals.
poor James, his parents are killed by what I can only describe as an imaginary rhinoceros. But at one point in the beginning of the movie, he had parents, and then now he does not have parents. And now he has to live with his aunts, who are like, they're like, I don't know a good way to describe them.
They look like they'd belong in Count Olaf's troop.
Yeah.
I kept thinking that. I was like, this is very... Because it's been a while since I've seen James and the Giant Peach or read it. And I just looked at them and I was like, this is feeling very Series of Unfortunate Events-y to me.
It really does. And I think I'm overexposed to stories about kids whose parents die and then their next guardians are just dog shit.
Well, it's like Disney only knows how to do one thing.
It's like there's one story, and maybe this movie's actually much better than I give it credit for, but I'm so fucking over that story building block. Like, what if his next guardians are dope? What if we did that? Or what if he just didn't have his parents killed by imaginary rhinoceroses? What if that happened? What if anything else? And this isn't Tim Burton's problem. This isn't Henry Selick's problem. This isn't the studio's problem. This is Roald Dahl writing it back in fucking the Middle Ages or whatever. That ancient angsty fuck. And it's just... he could still be alive. I don't know.
He's not.
Okay, well, I hope he rolls in his fucking grave, because this sucks ass. And actually, the more I talk about it, the more frustrated I'm getting about the whole story as a whole. And honestly, I don't think you could take this story, hand it to any other director, and have it be better. Like, I think Tim Burton and Henry Selick did the best that they possibly could given the story, and it's macabre tone, and it's sort of creepy and weird set fixtures all sort of match aesthetically with what those two do. So you see where I'm having trouble, because I don't think they did a bad job.
You just don't like the story.
I can't fucking stand the story.
I will say, in Roald Dahl's defense, he does do the opposite of that story, like, arc in Matilda, where her original parents are absolute dog shit people, and her adopted mother is fantastic.
Well, that's something, I guess. Also, you tricked me into watching a musical, you motherfucker.
I didn't mean to. I didn't remember that it had songs.
I don't mind watching musicals, but I like to know in advance if I'm going to walk into them.
The first song dropped and James just looked over at me and glared, and I was like, I thought it wasn't. I need
to be mentally prepared to have songs, okay? I can't just be having musicals drop out of nowhere. So James's life with his horrible ant guardians is exactly as terrible as you'd expect. And once again, I'm just so fucking jaded by that concept story-wise, because like everything they did to him, I was like, oh, it's just the standard fare, and I just tuned it out. Like if you it's like with any, think of like a war, right? It's terrible. And if it goes on for a long time, you eventually get so used to reading the same fucking headlines of the same fucking atrocities that just keep happening that you become totally immune to thinking that it's bad.
I didn't realize this podcast was going to be so topical.
Don't stray into there. But I'm watching this movie and I'm like, it sucks. Can we get to the like next stage of the movie? Like, can we just skip the first act where life is terrible and everything's awful and some sort of mystical, magical bullshit happens so that we can move on to the nicer part of the movie? Because
to the actual giant peach part of the movie.
Right. Like, I don't, maybe if I'd read the book as a kid, I'd have a nostalgia boner for it, or maybe I'd like it more. I don't know. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory isn't my favorite movie to watch either, and I read that book as a kid. I
think Tim Burton likes Roald Dahl because his stories are so
they're twisted and
outlandish
fucking weird
and stuff. Yeah, that he can do Tim Burton things and not have to really like change all that much.
Yeah, he doesn't need to bend to the whims and wills of producers who are hands off. He can just do his shit because his shit sort of aligns with Roald Dahl. So James is suffering, and at one point does he meet the guy when he's when he's saving the spider, or is it before that?
No,
I thought it was before that.
No, because he saves the spider and goes and puts her out there, and then he gets the worms because he's by the wall in his pajamas.
Okay, so James saves this spider that was hanging out in a windowsill.
Because his ants hate bugs. I mean, same though.
They're also slobs and awful at any sort of household maintenance. And the fact that they're having like a 5-year-old do it, he's got to be like 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking like 7.
He's got to be like 7 or 8. Somewhere in there.
Like young, but not like a child.
Yeah, not childlike. Other than the fact that he's a child. Anyways, James saves the spider. He's out by this fucking brick wall in the front yard of the house on the hill. And this horrible, creepy man in a costume that almost resembles a military uniform, just covered in ribbons and medals.
Very steampunk.
But also, it's, as far as I can tell, it's like mostly garbage. So he's kind of like a garbage man. Is out there, and he just starts talking like really fast at James and just saying a million things all at once. Very fantastical. Children, if you meet someone like this, run away. Run away from that man. That is a bad man. That man means harm. He is
you
not a
don't
good
think you
man.
should take his secret bag full of glowing magic?
How were you not kidnapped as a child? Dude, grade A kidnapping suspect right here.
Dude, I'm lucky I wasn't kidnapped by the Fae at some point.
Oh my god. No, don't get the fuck away from those type of dudes. Fuck those guys. So, he has a little baggie, and it's full of squiggles. And he calls them crocodile tongues. They're
crocodile tongues that have had a lot of things done to them, including, like, resting in a witch's skull under moonlight with, like, 3 spoonfuls of sugar or some such.
So, long story short, he's got a bag of animated magic squiggles. And the animated magic squiggles will be the linchpin for the rest of the movie. In that, James will drop them and spill all the little magic squiggles.
That he was told to not do, like, right before.
And then the little magic squiggles will not make another appearance except for one other time. And then another time a long time later.
I was like, at least 2 other times. But
so, leave it to a child to spill the bag of all the magic. And he spilled a lot more magic squiggles than 1 peach and 5 bugs worth, but Well, I guess it's 6 bugs. The glowworm is also there.
And him, so that's at least 7 squiggles. But he said there was like 1,000 crocodile tongues in there.
Right, so I can only assume England is forever fucked up by the magic squiggles.
That's what caused it all, guys. That's what did it.
So the peach becomes a peach. First of all, and this is something I neglected to mention earlier, one of the household chores that James has to do is he has to weed. And at the house on the hill, everything's dead. There's no need to weed anything because everything's dead. Nothing could grow in the same vicinity as those old bags in the fucking house. Like, it's such an awful everything. And it's all dreary and glum and awful to look at. It really is just horrible to look at with your eyes. It makes your eyes hurt. So then a peach grows, and the aunties decide that they're going to make money off of it. And so they charge a fee to come view the peach, and no flash photography unless it's of me because I'm gorgeous. No, you're not. You're dolled up in a Tim Burton movie. That's not allowed. You cannot be gorgeous. One of the funniest things that happens in the movie is that they charge a pastor double to view the peach. That's just funny to me. Little jab at the English church. So eventually, like, I kind of feel bad skipping over like transitions and little things that move the plot along.
Like all the trauma James goes through?
Yeah.
You had 11 notes in 11 minutes, and I feel like you didn't say any of them.
I've said I'm all the way up to like my 15th note.
Oh,
I've said a lot of them.
They're just so smooth that they're blending into your rant.
Yeah. I do that often actually. But it's just so mind-numbing. All the like heinous stuff. And I guess if you watch the movie in 1996 or whenever the fuck it came out, it wouldn't be as it would be much more disturbing, right? Like before we started doing this trope of orphan whose parents loved him and gave him a nice home now suffers in perpetual angst and agony.
I mean, that trope's been around since Cinderella, so
that's true.
I was like,
but that's what I'm talking about, right? I've been on this planet for 28 years, and it's one of the only fucking stories there is person has parents who are great. Parents die for X reason, and now they must live with a relative who treats them like shit.
I will say this, at least Disney is not telling that story anymore. I mean...
Yeah, now they're just retelling comic book stories. Poorly.
Or stories they've already done once. But I mean, like, Rapunzel... Well, no, that's not a good example. Tiana has her mom. Anna and Elsa lose both their parents, but, like, they don't go live with a bad person. Other Disney... Encanto is all about, like, destroying, like, family. Generational trauma... Like, they're telling new stories now. Unfortunately, their marketing team is ass, so they're not making any money off of them, but they're trying.
And they're not trying very hard. But I don't know, I skip over it because it drags. It drags on my brain. It's not interesting. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. It's boring at this point. And that's not to say that there isn't merit to it when it was made, but to watch it now, after 28 years of the same shit, I simply could not be bothered to give a fuck. And I think that's kind of a tragedy. That's a tragedy on the filmmaking industry in general. Like, how have we gotten so boring that we can't rewatch a movie without feeling like you're wasting your time? The most interesting parts of the movie happen once it gets to stop motion, and all of that is like being on drugs. a lot of the rest of my notes are like, oh, well, now he's on drugs. Well, all of this is the drugs that I wish I could be doing right now. And you know, it just sucks. Anyways, James he bolts out of his house at one point. He is instructed to go pick up trash. And does he see one more squiggle?
No, he hasn't been fed in days, so he takes a chunk of the peach.
That's right.
And the squiggle jumps into the peach.
He eats a chunk of the peach. One last magic squiggle jumps into that chunk of peach. And thus starts the drug-fueled rampage that will see a 7-year-old leave from England and arrive in New York City unexplained.
There's a giant peach and seagulls, captained by a centipede.
From Brooklyn.
Yep, who's a Commodore.
No. This movie is insane. And I don't think it's the movie's fault. You know that? I don't think the movie's insane because it's the movie, or because it's done by Tim Burton, or by Henry Selick. I think the movie's insane because the story is a fucking cracked out story. I think Roald Dahl did a shitload of drugs and just wrote down a dream he had about maybe if I could escape England. Was he English?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he had a terrible childhood and he wrote down a dream about how he could escape England.
I will say this, Roald Dahl has some serious trauma wrapped up in authority figures because, I mean, you've got Matilda, you've got the BFG, you've got, I guess Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, not so much. Like, his parents were nice.
Well, yeah, his parents were nice, but they were also destitute. And his grandfather's a hack and a terrible person.
And...
God damn you, Grandpa Joe.
You have the witches, which are all about, like, evil adults, and so he definitely has some sort of trauma wrapped up in, like, authority figures in his life, for sure.
Who hurt you, Roald Dahl? Who hurt you?
In his time, probably a lot of people.
So James eats the drugs, and now he goes to the peach dimension, in which he will climb through a hole in the peach, no bigger than a volleyball, and he will transform into a clay figurine that can move and talk. But it does not have sad little button eyes like Coraline. Also a fucked up movie.
Coraline is another messed up, like, that's, again, not just the movie, like, that's just a messed up story.
It's a fucked up story.
In general.
And I like me a good fucked up story, but if the fucked up story is, like, one that we've told a million times, I'm not going to pay attention to it. Coraline's crazy.
Coraline doesn't have the same trope of...
I kind of wish you had not made me watch Coraline so we could do a movie review about Coraline and you had made me watch James and the Giant Peach, because this movie is boring and Coraline is crazy.
Coraline's so... you're right. As far as storytelling, Coraline's a much better story.
James and the Giant Peach is... drab. It drags its fucking feet.
I will also say, out of the Roald Dahl books, it's not even probably the best one, because you have Matilda, you have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you have the fucking BFG, like, it's just... It doesn't feel as, like, complete, I guess. Like, it doesn't feel like a whole thought. Like, yeah, there's a evil rhinoceros cloud, but that doesn't make sense. At least all the other stories have, like, tangible threats and tangible consequences and tangible, like, achievements. Like, there's all... I will give you that about this story. Is there's very clearly... It feels almost too whimsical, and this is coming from, again, a writer...
I would not call a single thing I watched in that movie whimsical. Nightmare-inducing, sure.
Well, I'm just saying it lacks some of that, like, realism that the rest of...
Oh, it's not grounded in reality in any way.
But, like, the rest of Roald Dahl's work, even though there's a giant that, goes in and plants dreams in children's head through a giant trumpet, like, that seems more realistic than James and the Giant Peach. Because the story's more thought out.
Fuck, you should have put any other movie on the list
I
other
can-
than James and the Giant Peach, because that sounds way more interesting than the fucking orphan is sad goes into the magic dimension story again.
We can watch the BFG. It's one of my favorite stories from childhood. Like that's one of my I loved that book.
You can put it on the list. Anyways, now, oh fuck me. Ugh. Now we are in animation land inside the Peach, where James stumbles upon a meeting of the Peach's inhabitants, which are a spider, a grasshopper, a centipede, a worm, an earthworm, and a glowworm, and a ladybug.
Did you say spider?
Yep.
Okay.
Led with spider. And these varying creatures will have different accents, be from different parts of the world, which is super extremely unbelievable, just because I know how bugs work. And they will not be hostile towards each other or the human boy James in any way. Also, all of them are human-sized. It is not that James has shrunk upon becoming animated. All of these bugs are the size of people.
Yes.
And this Peach is the size of a 2-story house.
Yes.
Now, it is claymation, which is a lost art form. Every single thing is fuzzy. The texture of everything, except for the interior fruit portion of the peach, is somewhat fuzzy.
I didn't notice that.
Especially the exterior of the peach, where they very clearly used a painted orange felt. It is so fuzzy. Everything is just fuzzy. And it was almost upsetting looking at everything and going, So, now, they're just sort of hanging out. Everybody becomes friendly with James. James becomes friendly with everybody. And they don't have names. They're just called the creature that they are. The spider's from France.
Mm-hmm.
The centipede's from Brooklyn. The earthworm is an earthworm. And his accent is so generic.
The ladybug and the grasshopper from England.
Yes. So, and the glowworm sounds old.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, they're just sort of hanging out, and then they hear the ants come out and start looking for James. And so they all hide and panic a little bit. And the centipede says, "I'll take care of this." And he scurries his little way out of the top of the peach and uses his head pincers to cut the stem, resulting in the peach rolling over the ant's car after they get in it, crushing it, and then rolling down the hill through the village, bouncing off a church, and landing in the ocean.
Yep.
Everyone in the peach should be dead.
Yep.
I don't know if you've I would love to see a crash cam from the inside of a motorhome with a bunch of crash test dummies not strapped down, and they roll it down a hill.
You want the Mythbusters to test out the peach.
The Mythbusters would watch the sequence and be like, everybody's dead. No one survives.
Now, it could be said that because this peach is squishy, it would cushion their fall as they tumble around.
Well, sure, maybe you don't die when you hit the walls of the peach, but what about all the other bodies you're bouncing off of? And all, like, the glowworm is in a metal lantern. That's her home. She's inside of a big hunk of metal inside the peach. Like, what about all the other shit that you could bounce off of? What about the pit? Peach pits are hard. They're made of tree.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Like, sure, maybe you don't die when you bounce off the walls, but, I mean, you're bouncing off a bunch of other shit in there, and also man-sized bugs. So, everyone in there should be dead. And then they get into the ocean, And they sort of come to the realization that via, we'll call it manifest destiny, they are supposed to get to New York City. Sure, why not? James wanted to go to New York City. His parents were going to take him before they got killed by the ghost rhinoceros.
He has his travel book, and the travel book shows the peach and their destination as New York.
Okay, is there another thing you can think of in this world that is more contrived? No. And I'm not, once again, I cannot give Tim Burton or Henry Selick shit for this movie. I just can't. It's about par for their standards. This story by Roald Dahl is fucking insane. It's just fucking insane. I don't think it's good. I think it's pretty shit, actually. It's fucking crazy. And I'm not even going to get to the part that's the most offensive about the movie until the second episode of this podcast.
I'm so intrigued.
So, and we haven't even met the mechanical shark of death yet. Also, what the fuck is that about? Because that's coming next. Also, why are the seagulls so small? I'm a man-sized man. I've seen seagulls in recent history. Saw them on the beaches in Michigan. They were not small like these seagulls are. Maybe if they found some bigger seagulls, they wouldn't have needed 100 seagulls to move this house-sized peach. Now think about this for a moment. They needed to get 100 baby seagulls to move a 2-story house-sized fruit full of man-sized bugs.
I need to tell the podcast right now that James is literally vibrating. Like, he's shaking with anger.
I don't know if it's anger or incredulity at the atrocity to art that I've witnessed tonight.
It just keeps getting more. Like, you're.
I'll go a step farther. It only gets to be art because Tim Burton, the dark, cavernous artist, got his mitts on it. And Henry Selick, his lapdog director, also got his mitts on it.
I want to know what kind of deal they worked out together.
With the devil!
Where Tim Burton's like, yeah, you're gonna direct this movie, and then I'm gonna get credit for it forever. Just like Nightmare Before Christmas, like...
It's because Henry likes Tim Burton's aesthetic. So any choices Henry makes, they're just also Tim's. Also, what kind of bullshit name is Tim Burton for the man who did all of the fucking crazy shit that we've seen from his career? His name is Tim. His name is Tim.
Have you ever met a boring Tim?
One. The other Tim I've met threatened to fight customers in the front of the store.
I was like, that's not a boring Tim.
No, that Tim was dope as hell.
Okay.
This Tim is a mad bastard.
So the mechanical shark.
Right, the mechanical shark of death. But before we can get there...
Oh.
Well, don't forget, we have to rope the seagulls into this. Because the seagulls happen just before the mechanical shark of death.
Yes.
So
and semi-during.
Well, yeah, it's a process. So they have no way to power this boat that is not a boat, it's a peach. And it's also not a peach, it's a house, but it's a peach. They have no way to make it move. And so they see seagulls hovering above, like carrion birds in the desert, as they wait for food. If you think about it, actually, seagulls are just buzzards of the ocean.
Yeah.
They're just not ugly motherfuckers.
No.
But they're twice as mean. So James gets the genius plan to use bird power to get them to New York. And so they rope a few seagulls and they start drifting. Terrific. Awesome. Well done. They baited them with the earthworm under much protest.
I was like, non-consensually.
Oh yeah, they had to tickle him to get him to wiggle.
Like,
and then they had to thrash him about to get him to wiggle more. It was really, everything that happens in this movie is fucked up, okay? Violence occurs in every scene. And most of it is upon me as a viewer. So they rope a few seagulls, and then they see this whirlpool, and they look at it through a monocle, which acts as a spyglass, because that's how things work in imaginary land, or when you're on drugs. So they look upon this whirlpool, and the whirlpool is not a whirlpool. It's a suction hole for a mechanical shark full of teeth and rage. And we have no explanation as to what it is, where it came from, or what it wants. And it just appears.
Yep.
And is immediately hostile. Oh, I get it.
What?
It's a euphemism for North American police officers.
I don't think so.
Anyways, they rope another 75 seagulls as they now must escape the mechanical shark of death. And in doing so, the peach begins to fly, but the mechanical shark of death has tricks up its sleeve, as though it was designed by Count Olaf for murder. And it fires a harpoon, and it sticks into the peach, and so it gets, it's a tug of war now. And so then it fires bullet bills from Mario, shaped as tiny sharks that can fly and bark like dogs.
Okay, when you say it...
When I say the things that happen in the movie, it sounds crazy? Is that what you mean?
A little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase in a way that's more sensible. Nothing's coming to mind. This movie is insane. First, it was boring and awful and a repeat of everything I hate about movies, and then it was drugs. All of them at once. More than one time in this sequence alone, I found myself staring at the TV, a note not written on my phone with my mouth open like an asshole.
I will say I kept looking over at James, and a lot of it was just...
You have not had me watch a movie more absolutely befuddling than this. This is the most insane thing I've watched that you have made me see. You made me watch every Twilight movie to prove I loved you. And this is the most insane thing I've seen. I watched Carlisle get his head taken off in one shot by the Volturi. And this is the most crazy fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. It's a non-stop cavalcade of bullshit. Again and again, it assails the senses. It dares you to think it won't get stranger, and then it does. It's wild. Is it bad? I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I can't really process all of the things that happened. Visually, it might be one of the most interesting looking movies I've ever seen. Story-wise, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Conceptually, fascinating. Aesthetically, exactly what you'd expect from Tim Burton. Whoever Roald Dahl needs to take a fucking page out of the South Park manual of writing stuff. Because there's a viral clip I talk about all the time now that Matt and Trey gave about how they write episodes of South Park. And they were like giving I think they were teaching a class, or they were like guest teaching a class or something at a university in Colorado. And they talked about the way you have to lay out your story beats and how you need to transition from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's always, it's kind of like the rules of improv where it's yes and. there always needs to be a this happens and so this happens. Not this happens and then this happens. It's this happens and then this happens. Or it's this I said it already. The way this movie happens is one crazy thing occurs, and then we have a song sung by a bug in claymation, and then another crazy thing happens. And then we have another song sung by a bug in claymation, and then this crazy thing happens. And then, whoa, you guessed it, another song sung by a bug in claymation, and then another fucking crazy thing happens. Okay? This movie is not only not a good musical, it's not a good story, and the only good thing about it is watching it while high must be the most crazy trip. In fact, I'd very much like to get some of our friends who are avid drug users to do some drugs and watch the movie so I can just sit and observe. Wide-eyed and excited.
Done. I can make that happen. Are you halfway through your notes, or is this episode gonna run long?
Oh, we're gonna go for another, 10 minutes, because I want to get to the underwater pirate battle.
Okay.
So...
Which is, yes, another thing that happens.
It's coming up. So... They escape the shark.
Yes.
Due to the heroics of the Miss Spider and the centipede and the ladybug.
The ladybug takes out those...
She does take out the knockoff bullet bills.
With her purse.
Who bark and are sharks and fly. Dude, it sounds like a kid's nightmare, man. It sounds like a child's nightmare.
I think that's the idea.
I think Roald Dahl just wrote down his childhood nightmares. That's what all his books are, just his nightmares. If you have a child and they have a nightmare, tell them to write it down because they can make $1 gajillion on it. You just write it and sell it.
That's why some people keep dream journals, honestly.
Oh, I take it back. We're not going to get there yet.
We can start with the underwater pirate battle.
Well, yeah, we'll have to. So they escape, and then they're flying through the sky, and then an indeterminate amount of time passes. We don't know how much time. All we know is the centipede starts hallucinating. Much like I was throughout the course of the movie. In which he looks at his friends and sees food as he is starving to death. And then he looks at the birds and sees birds, which are food, and tries to eat a seagull and is repulsed by the ladybug. And then they all start to fight about how they don't have any food. And I would like to remind everyone that they are presently flying above the Atlantic Ocean in a house-sized peach carried by 100 seagulls. I gotta go to work tomorrow. You know? I gotta go, pretend to be a normal person tomorrow. After watching this. And how am I supposed to recover from the curse that has befallen me?
I'm crying.
What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just go to my job tomorrow and do my job after watching the drug trip I have described to you? I need to, I don't know, chain smoke 1 million packs of cigarettes, get wine drunk in the middle of the day, and then write down a drug trip and sell it as a script. What the fuck am I doing? I am fundamentally changed as an individual, and so not for the better, for having watched this movie as a 28-year-old man. If you are listening to this right now, I want you, before you skip to the next episode to listen to the rant about the underwater sea battle, I need you to finish this episode and go turn on your Disney Plus, because I know you have it, because we all do, because we're all slaves to the mouse. And I want you to watch James and the Giant Peach all the way to the pre-Marvel post-credits scene. And then turn it the fuck off. And then try to be a normal person after watching that movie. Bonus points if you've never seen it before. And if you are fundamentally changed for the so much worse, tell me about it in a review of the show. Because God help me, I cannot be alone on this earth as the only person fundamentally changed for the worse by this movie, okay? I can't make it. How am I supposed to make it through Christmas right now? Christmas is in a week and a day. How am I supposed to make it? You've just heard everything I've talked about. I feel like I'm in a dream world. I don't even think I'm real. There's a hockey game going on I could be watching. I don't even think that's real. What did they do to us? What happened? Who allowed this? If I go to hell, I'm gonna find Roald Dahl, I'm gonna kick his ass.
Well, he's probably there.
All he knows is sad children and angst and being poor in England. What the fuck?
You're gonna get done with your notes so that we
What the fuck?
So that we can start with the underwater pirate?
I haven't talked about my notes for like 10 minutes.
I know, that's why I was gonna ask. You started
Is this show even real?
You started talking about the centipede hallucinating and then just...
They eat the peach, okay? They don't eat all of it. They just eat some of it. And they do another song. And then they all go to sleep after getting drunk on peach beer made by the stomping feet of a grasshopper. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? I'm in cinematic hell! God himself has turned his eyes upon this! What a nightmare! Fuck!
I literally started crying at one point. Are you okay? I didn't realize that James was gonna be such a traumatizing time for you. Is it 'cause your name is James? Is that why? 'Cause like
Oh my God.
I will say, like, I somewhat understand because I told you this movie gave me trauma as a child. Like, I have very distinct images in my brain from this movie that have like lasted the test of time and are still very disturbing images in my head. But even then, I don't think I've had quite this visceral reaction to anything I've ever seen. Oh my god. Oh, that's not true. The South Park multiverse episode, that felt like this to me, where I just kept watching it and was like, what the actual fuck is happening?
Hang on, I gotta go to Discord.
Why?
Because there's a photo for me waiting.
What is the photo of?
I don't know. He's gonna post an image for me. You can pull Discord up on the computer if you want.
Well, let me type in the episode and get
Oh god damn it, Green Gorilla!
Wait, what is it? Did he Photoshop you onto the poster? Because I will die. Wait, let me see.
He Pixar mommed James!
Pixar mommed James? That's bad. You should feel bad. Okay, James and the Giant Peach. Part 1. Save. Alright. Green Gorilla, you get to redeem yourself. Because I think you're the only one here tonight. So you can have a redemption at picking a movie. Since you didn't get to contribute last time. I don't think you're gonna like any of the options, so I apologize to you. But there you go. And we'll be right back. You picked our first DCOM.
A Disney Channel original movie.
Let's watch a Disney Channel movie. That's a throwback.
1999.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Kirsten Storms.
I love her.
She looks like... What does she look like?
She looks like a person, apparently.
She looks like
Kmart.
chick from Scary Movie.
Ugh, I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. I just never heard. That's fair.
She looks like Discount Anna Faris.
I was expecting you to pick Avatar, honestly. She does kind of look a little bit like Anna Faris. When she's older. When she's younger, she doesn't at all. Raven Simone's in it.
Fascinating.
It's a good movie. There's 2 sequels.
Got a 6.3 out of 10. That's pretty close to what James and the Giant Peach is rated.
It has a much better story. And they explain shit. There's like science and stuff. You don't have to worry about it till 2024.
Okay.
You ready? Anchorman's on this list. That's good for you eventually. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Have you ever found comfort in going to sleep in the center of a spider's web with your legs loosely wrapped in spider silk and your small claymation jacket spread atop you, having been kissed upon the forehead by a French spider played by Susan Sarandon?
Can't say that I have. Again, when you say things in this like systematic, like just matter of fact sentence, it really sounds insane.
When I say out loud the things that happen the way they happen in the movie James and the Giant Peach on this show, CityWavesCinema, with me, James, and you, America, it sounds fucking crazy? Is that what you're saying to me right now? Is that it sounds fucking crazy?
Yes, I'm also saying that's probably the best intro we've ever done.
Thank you. This movie is a stain upon me.
I had to recover from the last one. I was crying.
You were in tears. What have they done to you?
I wasn't ready for... Okay, I did say this off recording, but I do want to reiterate it, that I can somewhat understand where James is coming from, because I think I've mentioned in the episode before this, and this episode, and this movie before this, that I do have certain traumatic associations with James and the Giant Peach from my childhood, where there are like images that have been burned into my skull that that have like withstood the test of time and are very still like jarring images to my brain. One of them is the rhinoceros cloud. One of them is the bag of crocodile tongues. Like, they're very visceral images that terrify me to this day from this movie. So honestly, I understand a little bit where James is coming from, but also I was not expecting this movie to have this much of an effect on you. And I'm concerned in more ways than one.
You should be.
So they
well, welcome back to hell.
Yeah. They all went to sleep.
After we all got shit-faced on the peach beer made by Stompy Grasshopper Feet and ate the drywall of the house, everyone goes to sleep. And they wake up in hell.
Quite the opposite of hell,
actually. My personal hell.
Oh, it is your personal.
A frozen wasteland.
Yeah.
They wake up covered in snow as they are flying through what I can only describe as the Arctic Circle, but where pirates go to die. As James climbs up to observe why there's snow on his face from the inside of the peach, and he looks about, and the seagulls are half frozen solid, but still maintaining flight. And as he looks, there are many icebergs and frozen chunks of ice about, as well as the masts of sunken vessels, ships made of wood. In this a time where there are metal cars, a la the early 1900s. and they get mad at the centipede because he said he knew how to fly. And he knew how to navigate. But he was very clearly a liar.
To be fair, I feel like that whole argument is a little... Like, I feel like they should have been arguing over the fact that he fell asleep. Because he was doing a fine job navigating before he was unconscious. Like, at least to their knowledge.
That's not clear.
Okay.
Anyways, a small scuffle breaks out, and then it is decided that they must find a way to navigate. And the way they must navigate is via a compass. However, this they do not have. So what's the plan now? Oh, it's so simple. The centipede will jump into the frozen water, find a pirate ship, and obtain a compass.
Who's holding the compass, James?
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Okay.
So after a fight where he finally grows a conscience, and decides that he needs to right this wrong, he just jumps off the beach, which is apparently in hover mode, and disappears into the water, surrounded by chunks of ice and icebergs and sunken pirate ships. Now, James doesn't like this one bit. No, sir, he does not. He thinks the centipede, who is the size of a man, is his friend. When really, he's just a cranky man from Brooklyn.
They're all friends, James. They're all family.
So he and the spider, the French spider, played by Susan Sarandon, use some spider silk as a safety rope and go after him into the frozen water in a sequence that will ignore how anything works.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. This one has...
Because first of all, everyone can breathe in the underwater pirate battle. And also, everyone can speak clearly to each other in the underwater pirate battle. And also,
no one freezes to death?
No one freezes to death. And there's ghosts. And also, the Pumpkin King, who, after moonlighting as Santa for a moment, dies in a horrible sleigh crash, doesn't die, and becomes a pirate captain. And, without moving, manages to get a hold of the centipede's suspenders. After the centipede pries the compass from Jack Actual Skellington's cold, literally, dead, so literally, fingers. He's made of bones and angst. And now the centipede man is trapped underwater in no, maybe, actual danger. Because I don't know about you, but when I see people go underwater in the Arctic waters, I don't think that the danger that they'll be facing is going to come from ghost pirates on a ship surrounded by also Jack Skellington and Donald Duck.
I mean, if we refer to the rules of threes, you can come back to that Donald Duck in a minute. If you refer to the rules of threes, it's 3 minutes without air, like oxygen, and 3 hours without heat. So...
they are underwater for like 5 minutes. Well, okay, the centipede's underwater for like 5 minutes.
I feel like it's longer than that.
Who knows? Because guess what? They capture him like it's nothing. And then they actual torture. They just do actual torture. You know the stretching rack? The medieval torture device? Well, they make their own. By tying his top wrists, because he has like 50 wrists, to one crank wheel, and then his leg wrists.
Those are called ankles?
I don't know. He's a centipede. He has 1,000,000 arms that are also legs functionally.
Technically only 100. Cent is 100. Otherwise he'd be a millipede.
In the movie, he's got like 20 arms total. He's not even a real centipede. He's not even played by a centipede, bro. His claymation model isn't even accurate to the lore, bro. Okay? Get out of here with your real bug facts. We're in hell. Those aren't facts here. What the fuck? So, they're stretching him, and they're popping all the kinks out of his back as he notes one of them actually feels real good.
I was kind of thinking, I was like, maybe I should try that. Have people yank on me from 2 different ends and maybe my spine will fix itself.
Oh my god, no. So, the whole time I just want Jack Skellington to speak and have the voice of Jack Skellington, but all he does is have a disembodied howl. That sort of sounds like, ah!
I'm sorry for everyone that had to hear that.
I'm not sucking dick. So, they knew what they were signing up for.
Did they? Because I didn't.
I'm sorry. Did you not watch the drug movie with me?
I watched it, but I don't think we watched the same movie.
I had a religious experience in not a nice way.
James had a come to Jesus moment.
Nope. It wasn't Jesus. I know him. He and I are friends. Okay? Now, the French spider played by Susan Sarandon and Claymation Jimbo over there embark on a rescue mission in which Jimbo has to tackle the Viking pirate who is going to cut off our Brooklyn centipede's head with an axe. And they engage in combat as well as a retrieve the compass mission in which they will fight Jack Actual Skellington, a Viking pirate, an Eskimo, because it wasn't taboo to have an Eskimo, and also Donald Duck from like the 1930s, before he was short and fat and didn't cast healing on you ever. This was like original Donald Duck, who didn't have a voice and just looked like an asshole. But also, he's just a skeleton. And it's underwater, and they can talk to each other.
Every time you say it.
I'm gonna do the rest of the movie like that, because everything that happens is bullshit. And nothing will be explained. And this is all because a strange man who appeared from nowhere and can teleport gave Jack James a bag of green animated squiggles and called them magic.
You sound like a South Park character.
I feel like I'm in an episode. I feel like if South Park wrote Roger Ebert, I'm him.
Who's Roger Ebert?
One of the most famous movie critics there ever was.
Okay.
Now, they escape, but not without the centipede making the ultimate sacrifice and what we could only imagine as being killing himself to save his friends and the compass. But then he appears with shoulder pauldrons, a sword, and a new hat.
He took Jack's hat.
Yes, which begs the question, how did they capture him so easily earlier when he could straight up whip everybody's ass as soon as the camera goes away?
He also took Jack's arm.
He's not very nice to Jack Actual Skellington. So, we get the compass, and now we're cruising on our way to New York City. And along the way, guess who they leave in charge of the night watch? It's once again the Centipede Man, who has redeemed himself in the eyes of his comrades. But once again, having to stay on watch all night because these people clearly do not know how to stagger their watches, starts to fall asleep at the wheel, helm, stem? Unclear. They use the stem of the peach to guide the birds. But I'm still not sure how any of it works. All right? So, the grasshopper comes to relieve the centipede, hopefully so that they don't have another, oops, we're in the Arctic Circle moment. And the grasshopper starts playing the violin with two bows because he has multiple arms, as do most of the insects. And then we have a brief musical interlude where nothing of consequence occurs. Other than a little bit of, we're friends now, yay.
Is this not the We're Family song?
Well, that's coming up because I have a note and it says, quote for quote, frankly, it's a little upsetting how James has only known the bugs for a few days and now they have adopted him as a member of their little strange family.
Okay.
I mean, as far as we know, we don't know how much time passed between when they left England and when they started to starve to death because they don't show the passage of time, but they have shown exactly one night.
2.
They're in the middle of the second night.
Yes.
So they've completed one night and had a brief moment in the Arctic.
Yes.
And now they're almost to New York.
Yes.
I don't know if you know how far away England is, but I don't think they used the Godzilla universe Hollow Earth wormholes to traverse the entire Atlantic Ocean at a time where the Titanic barely made it out the gates.
They just flew
on a trip that was going to take them a fucking month, by the way.
They just flew over it.
Oh, sure, the power of 100 seagulls who never stop flying, who don't need to eat or sleep or drink, apparently, can take the house-sized peach full of 6 anthropomorphic human-sized bugs and 1 child-sized claymation boy to New York City.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, they have a nice little thing about how they're a family, and then they're in the clouds, and then the clouds part, and bada bing, bada boom, it's New York City. It's just below them. They've done it. They've made it. Oh no! What's happening? Oh, God help us all, it's wind! Oh no! And even worse than that, it's a sky rhinoceros! It's back to kill James! It got its parents and it wants him too!
Man, gotta respect the hustle, the determination, he's like, I left this job unfinished, I need to fucking finish it.
And would you like to know how James bests the sky rhinoceros?
About as easily as the kids in It best Pennywise.
He said, fuck you!
Said, I'm not afraid of you anymore. That's basically what they did in fucking It.
Stephen King is a hack!
The Losers Club just said, I'm not scared of you anymore. And it died.
The Sky Rhinoceros. Every time I say it, I sound more insane. The Sky Rhinoceros, made of clouds, lightning, and faint roaring, is dissipated by James screeching into the night that he fears nothing anymore. Why? We don't know.
He took his parents' advice and looked at it a different way.
Only after the worm reminded him. Let's not forget a moment I've neglected to mention, in that James advises the worm, who is blind, to look at situations in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That's like asking the deaf person if they can hear you good. Way to go, asshole!
He's trying to be a good friend.
He's a child. He gets slack, okay? Now, I couldn't believe anything that was happening. So I don't know how the seagulls got cut off from the peach.
By the Sky Rhinoceros.
I'm still not sure it's real. But then again, I'm not sure anything has been real since we started the movie on Disney+. James and the peach fall.
Yes.
But James somehow, in free fall, from outside the peach, gets inside the peach.
He falls through the hole in the top.
Sure. And the peach impales itself on the Empire State Building.
But does not impale James.
Well, he's so small, the tip of the top of the lightning rod on the Empire State Building would probably just fracture all of his bones rather than pierce his body, because it's round on top, not spiked. So he'd probably bounce with a sickening crunch as every bit of bone in him turned to dust and his organs to jelly.
But he once again survives.
But instead, he's on the inside of the peach, so he just sort of bounces around some fruit that's his home and also food source. So now he crawls out of the peach and becomes a real boy again.
Because the worm leaps out of his body, the squiggle.
Because he has a cough, and the magic leaves him. And he crawls out of the peach, and he is then higher than anything else in New York City.
But he thinks he's not in New York City briefly.
Because he can't see the Empire State Building, because the peach is so damn big, he can't see below him to see the fact that he is on a small house on top of the Empire State Building. The peach dribbles some goo, which hits a policeman, who goes to a police phone box.
After the little girl tells him there's a boy up there.
And tells them to send everybody because they have a situation. And it looks like a peach. And so they get the biggest crane in New York City.
Comically big.
To lift the peach off of the Empire State Building and set it on the back of a flatbed truck. With James and a fireman still upon it.
Yep.
And then the firemen, who are from the ground, climb a ladder onto the peach, get the boy down, and as soon as he tries to start explaining how he came to be on a house-sized peach on top of the Empire State Building,
the most insane thing in the movie happens.
The most unforced error in storytelling history occurs, The Park Night is better than this movie.
For reference, that's the movie that James and I made together in college.
At least the story made sense.
Ooh.
No, the story has a basis in science. The science of head trauma.
Yeah, kind of.
Listen, we twist the rules on how medicine works.
Yeah, just hit the person that has amnesia in the head again and they'll remember everything.
The Uber driver is not a smart man.
Also, if you get
One could argue he's just very lucky.
Also, if you get amnesia while you're in a costume, you wake up and think you're the person who you're dressed as, even though you wouldn't remember who that is.
Does that sound more insane than drinking peach beer made by grasshopper feet, made from the walls of the house that you're living in? That is being flown across the Atlantic Ocean by 100 seagulls tied to the stem of the house that is a peach by spider silk?
No.
No, it does not sound more crazy. Guess who shows up at the end of the movie? It's the ants who drive up in their destroyed Cruella de Vil ass coupe full of seawater, seaweed, and hate. And it is not explained how they are here. And not even a child would look at that and go, oh yeah, they're here now.
I mean, clearly they drove from England through the ocean to New York. That's why their car is filled with water and seaweed, and that's why they're all soaking wet.
America, you were a child once.
Yup.
I believe that I'm correct in saying that you did grow up in this country.
I mean, grow up is a loose term, but yeah.
And would I be remiss in saying that you took classes in school, in elementary and middle school, that taught you about other places in the world and how our place in the world is separated from those other places by apocalyptically large bodies of water?
That would be correct.
And would you, as the extraordinarily intelligent 7-year-old you were when you were 7 years of age, believe that two evil motherfuckers from England could drive across the Atlantic Ocean unassisted in a car you saw destroyed moments earlier and not perish?
As I was reading about 2 years above my grade level, actually no, a middle school reading level, probably not.
So when you saw with your own childlike eyes these two ancient fucks get out of the car like ghost mimes with makeup askew, horrible teeth, and seaweed for hair, get out of a car that then emptied hundreds of gallons of water into the street from a car with a windshield that, frankly, didn't exist anymore because the roof of the car was below the dashboard of the car because it was crushed by a peach the size of a house. Did you think, oh yes, this makes sense?
I believe in the framework of the story that has been established, yes.
So you, as a 7-year-old, did copious amounts of drugs. Excellent, great. No questions further. Your Honor, I rest my case. This is the most fucking insane thing I've ever seen. From the moment the car drove up, I just wrote, no. 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 Listen, the movie begs on its hands and knees for you to suspend as much disbelief as you can. It even goes so far as to make part of the movie animated with clay so that you would suspend disbelief, so that they could tell you the most preposterous story ever contrived by one sick fucking England. And I can't. I can't, okay? I'll give you bugs the size of people. I'll give you magic that makes a peach the size of a 2-story house in these United States. In no world will I accept that the two haggard, barely able to move, scam artist, abusive women from England in the house on the hill were not A, killed by the peach as it crushed the car they were inside. That not only were they not killed, but they then drove the car, which wouldn't start, first of all, but it then somehow, after being crushed by a peach the size of a house, did in fact start. That they then drove it directly into the ocean, across the whole Atlantic Ocean, only to arrive miraculously on the streets of New York City. And then...
At the exact same time that James arrives in New York City.
Which implies they drove it in 3 days. For that is as much time as we were shown upon the journey of the boy within the peach. "'Tis a crime upon my eyes."
You were going to say "and then."
And then what? It's only bullshit. The movie wishes so desperately that I would believe that could happen. Or that I would even accept that that would happen. And I cannot. I will not stand here as an audience member, whether a man or a boy, and believe for one moment that they could possibly arrive at the same time that James sailed down from the giant beach from being impaled on the Empire State Building, having just lost all of his friends to the seagulls, who are man-sized bugs, only then to be assailed by these same women who demand the authorities, who are New York City policemen, hand over the boy to them. And upon asking for proof that the peach is in fact theirs, they show a picture of them with a clearly fabricated peach.
No, it's the same picture that was taken of them in front of the peach by that photographer man.
How did it survive in Miriam Margulies' bosom?
The power of boobs?
Not even hers could protect that piece of paper from the entire Atlantic Ocean.
I got nothing.
They try to take the boys. They try to take the boy. And the policeman won't let them. And so they steal firemen's axes and assault the car, the flatbed truck that the peach is resting on.
In attempts to kill James, mind you.
These are bad people. And the saviors of the day, coming down from the heavens above,
Are his family.
are 6 human-sized bugs, speaking in a variety of accents, wearing clothes for people. And the citizens of New York do not immediately kill them.
No guns are drawn. The citizens do not scream. They do not run in fear. This is some aliens ending the world type shit. And no reaction could possibly measure up to what I wanted.
They celebrate and ask if they can eat the peach.
And the centipede tells the children of New York that the peach will not last forever. So now, children, eat. Eat plenty. Fill yourselves with the fruit of the strange magical peach that grew from the dead tree by the house on the hill that had a brief stint as a claymation star and was briefly a hovercraft in the Arctic. And also functions as a house. Eat it and enjoy. And the New Yorkers embrace the bugs and place the pit of the peach in Central Park, where James will live, and his only job from now on as a child, an orphan, mind you. I had notes about how he was going to be a child in the foster system of early New York City, but no, he will instead be a sideshow character who must tell his story to anyone who walks by, and he gets to live with his strange bug friends in a pit of a peach that is the size of a one-story house in New York City in Central Park. I have destroyed my voice. This episode is over. I'm in hell.
It's a happy ending. A very happy ending.
I'm not happy!
Thank you for tuning into this episode of CityWave Cinema. It was a little more unhinged than I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize that James would be so affected by this movie. Our next movie
3.5 out of 10.
will be our first DCOM. For those of you who don't speak millennial, that's a Disney Channel original movie. Or will be next time, and it'll be Xenon, which is one of my other favorite childhood movies, but doesn't give me any trauma. So hopefully it'll be better. Maybe.
Doubt it.
Alrighty. Are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need to talk to someone? I know I know someone who has their counseling license.
If she wasn't on vacation, I would text her and be like, I'm doing it.
You could probably still text her.
She's in New York?
I mean, she's probably asleep, but she'll wake up to it and it'll be great. Alright, everybody. We will hopefully be here tomorrow. We make no promises. We are getting ready to travel. But we will do our best. And hopefully the year of 2024 will be smoother for the most part as far as streams go. We're hoping 2024 is a better year for not only us but a lot of people that we know. But we're gonna do our best to get some streams in this week. Hopefully another Assassin's Creed, and then maybe some filler. And then when we come back, it'll probably be Poppy time. At least some point in January will be Poppy time. But this is our last CityWave Cinema until the new year. We will be posting the episodes, so if you missed anything, please always know that you can find them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please feel free to rate us 5 stars. And if you watched James and the Giant Peach and had a similar traumatizing experience, please feel free to write a review and let James know so he doesn't feel entirely alone. We will see you all hopefully sometime soon.
And